Hey guys, Dr. Ben here, Functional Medicine Centers. Let's talk today about variants, mutations, all these altered viruses out there, what's coming, the different Greek alphabet there, the alphas and deltas and omegas and all these different things. What is driving this? And most importantly, what can you do about it today, especially as the news media really starts projecting a lot of this fear out there and oh my gosh, this all is coming. What are you to do? Well, let's get into it today and show you exactly where you need to go with things, what you need to do to help support your immune system, to support your family, and to make your bodies the most possible restricting against this virus as you possibly can. Hey Lisa, good to see you there in Georgia. So for you guys jumping on, go ahead and pop down below where you're watching from. Love to see everybody all around the country, all around the world. Lots of great information to get through today. If you've got questions, hey Shelly, if you've got questions, pop those down below as well. A lot of information. Good evening over in the Philippines. Yep, it's morning here in the U.S. So here's what we're hearing all the time is that, oh my gosh, this Delta variant, what's going on? It's spreading easier. Michelle in West Virginia, great to have you on. It's spreading easier. It's going to cause more infections, all these different things. And so, is it not hard to say? What we do know, let's get into this. What we do know is that viruses, they are going to evolve all the time. This is what viruses do. Hey everybody, Arizona, New Jersey, Wisconsin, everybody out there, great to see you. Viruses evolve all the time, and this is not a new thing. This is not like, oh my gosh, COVID is so much different than everything else. Viruses evolve all the time, and it's this evolutionary process of viruses want to survive. Their number one goal is to replicate, and so viruses get into cells, and that's what they're doing. Good to see you, Cheryl in Nebraska. They want to replicate, and that's why zinc and all these other things that block them from getting into the cell are going to be great for stopping this replication. But one of the things that happens, it's kind of like antibiotic resistance. Cheryl, good to see you there, or Chelsea, good to see you there in Johnstown. Great to have you on. So here's what happens is just like antibiotic resistance. Have you guys heard about that? Where for years they said, hey, if you're taking a 10-day thing of antibiotics, 10-day script of antibiotics, you want to take that entire thing. Why? Because if there's some bacteria left over at the end, those are probably the stronger ones. Those are probably going to be the ones that are more likely to evolve, to go into some other type of bacteria. And so this is the same thing that happens with viruses. And unfortunately, with the new messenger RNA shot, is that this is what's happening, is that shot is not designed to totally block a virus from replicating in somebody's body. We know that they have said that, okay, you can still get it. It's not designed to fully stop somebody from getting, just lessen the symptoms and not go to the hospital, things like that. Hey Sharon, good to see you. So what are we looking at? Well, this virus, especially for people that have gotten the shot, it can still replicate inside that body. And just like antibiotic resistance, there was an article in NPR recently, as far back as February, where they were talking about that this can actually propel this viral replication and this evolution of these viruses, is that by getting the shots, even though the mainstream media is saying it's people that haven't got the shots, which if you think about it, it's 49% of the adult population has had both shots in there, whereas 51% of the US population, the adults, have not had both shots, are not fully vaccinated. So I don't think it's either one, people not vaccinated or people vaccinated. I think it's a conglomeration. But what we do know, and even NPR said this, was that people that are getting the shot are not fully vaccinated to that virus. It can still replicate there, and it's kind of this forced evolution. It kind of propels the evolution, where if I get exposed to that virus, my body is going to fight it off, it's going to deal with everything, and then move on from there. So it kind of forces hey, Shelley up there in Wisconsin, it kind of forces this evolutionary action. And so let's say this Delta variant that everybody's talking about there, the Delta variant is 0.3% different than the regular COVID that came through. But what's interesting is this is going to be, it's not the traditional COVID symptoms that we're used to, the shortness of breath and the loss of smell, but it's more like flu-like symptoms. So runny nose, sore throat, some of those more traditional flu-like symptoms. So these people are making out to be, oh my gosh, it's deadlier, it's worse, and all those things. And we haven't seen that. Like there was an article and a research coming out of, hey Karen, good to see you, England, and they found that it was this was a 0.3% fatality rate for the Delta variant when they looked at the number of people that had it. And so in the article I was reading about, they said, well, that's because everybody that's old that would have had problems with it, and most of the people that are getting it now are under 50. And that's the other thing you're hearing is that, oh my gosh, it's now hitting younger people and all this stuff. Well, what's happening, yes, the majority of people over 50, over 60, over 70 that were really in that high risk group that already have high blood pressure, they have diabetes, they are going to already have been vaccinated. They're not going to as likely get this shot. Hey Elaine, good to see you. And so, basically, yes, the people that are going to show up with the Delta variant are going to be younger people, maybe people that haven't been vaccinated. And so it's really not going to be as big of a deal for them, obviously, so that fatality rate is lower. So they said, well, if it was still hitting older people, we would have way more of an issue. But in general, it's really not much different than the very first one that's been going around. And is it more contagious? Is it not? Hard to say at this point. And yet it's not killing people left and right. We're not seeing a huge influx in the hospital. We're not seeing a lot of these issues. So this Delta variant will evolve. There'll be another one. There'll be another one. This is what happens with viruses every year. That's one of the reasons why the flu vaccine is so hit and miss, because they're guessing as to which variant is going to be most active that year. And so it's not a cut and dry science here, but what we do know is that one of the things that if you have had COVID, if you have been exposed and you have T cells to this, so antibodies, remember, T cells make antibodies. You can test for antibodies, and even like a vaccine or a booster shot is going to give you more antibodies. But it's not the antibodies that are really that important. It's more of the T cells. The T cells are those immune system cells that are the memory ones that are going to sit there for years and years and years, and they will be able to produce antibodies very quickly. And so the T cells are the important ones, and what we found is that T cells are going to identify, because these variants are very, very close. They found that looking at SARS, the COVID-1 versus the COVID-2, people, and it's a 20% difference between those, people had just as much T cell activity. So hey Jerry, good to see you. You support the vaccine. That's an individual choice that individual people need to make based on their health condition. So I'm not going to come out and say yes or no for anybody out there, because that's based on what somebody's current health status is like. So that's an individual choice there. So, but what we get to is T cells. Booster shots do not support the T cells. Booster shots do not give you more T cells. What they do is give you more antibodies, but the antibodies, they fade. Even in Israel now, where they've had primarily the Pfizer shot, they're seeing a lot of breakthrough cases at about 6 months post-shot. And that's why Pfizer just came out a couple weeks ago and said, hey, we're going to need a booster. And they're going to have to do that booster shot. And so they're seeing that the antibodies start fading. People are starting to get breakthrough infections, and they're wanting it to be this annual thing where it's every 6 to 12 months people need to get that booster. So kind of interesting on that one, that Pfizer booster. They say the booster can raise your antibodies 5 to 10 times. times higher than what they were before. But again, it's not about the antibodies, it's about the T cells, and that T cells is that memory. And so if you have had COVID, if you've been exposed, if your body's fought it off at all, those T cells are at this point, what we know with all these variants, it's still going to be able to handle these. It's going to be able to identify them and fight those off. So what do we do? What do we need to keep doing here and do to fight this off, to deal with any variant, deal with any infection? Who knows what's going to be released out of another lab accidentally? Whatever's going to happen out there, you need to do these things. We know that if we had given vitamin D to everybody, if we had gone door to door with vitamin D way back in March of 2020, we would have cut the fatality rate probably in half. If we would have given people zinc, if we would have given people quercetin, NAC, dealt with even some of the other medications that I'm not going to talk about on here, but we know that work, there would have been a significant reduction, way more than anything else that had been done with ventilators and all these different things. We can see with just vitamin D, significant reduction in people that are getting sick, going to the hospital, going to the ICU, and dying. We look at hundreds of research articles showing this to be true. So does there need to be a mass effort of raising people's vitamin D level into that 60 to 80 range? Absolutely, and this is such an important part of the puzzle, and so many things that could have been done besides just waiting for this shot. You have to be proactive. Shelly, check out NAC. We did a video last week on talking all about that one. So we had a question there. I'm wondering if people that had both shots get the Delta variant. What I'm seeing at my facility is we are rehabbing. I cut that one out. I didn't get to see that whole thing. So yes, there are still people that are getting the Delta variant. There's people that are getting regular COVID. Yes, if they've had both shots, it does not mean that they can't get any of these. You know, there's still breakthrough reactions. We know that even at like six months plus, the effectiveness starts going down significantly. So should we be, afraid of all these things? No, do the same stuff. You've got to get outside. You've got to exercise. Keep your blood sugar stable. You've got to sleep. Turn off your TV. Why is the TV nonstop talking about this? Because news channels have been, their ratings have been dropping significantly over the last 6 months, maybe even 9 months. And what does that show? Well, that people want to hear about this. They get excited and oh my gosh, there's this new variant coming. How many people are going to die? So put up the counter again, all of these things. And so what happens then is people get sucked in and they start watching, and then the media knows what they need to put out there and to get more ratings. And so that's what's happening. So turn off your social media, turn off your news media, get outside, do your exercise. We've seen all this research, all these articles showing that these things can truly change the outcome for people way more than anything else, that social distancing, masking, anything like that. If you take care of your body, it's going to be able to handle so much more than preventing or blocking or stopping things from coming in. So here's the deal, guys. Don't freak out. Keep doing what you've been doing. Work on your immune system, whether you've had the shot, haven't had the shot. You've got to do the things to support your body, to make your body the best possible defense that you can. If you've got any questions at all, pop those down below. Love seeing you guys all over. There we go. Share, good to see you. Hold on, there's a couple people. Let's see if there's any more questions. And yeah, so even Becky, my rheumatologist, is pressuring me. I had the Rona for Christmas and survived. I'm not afraid, but these doctors. So yeah, especially somebody with autoimmune. We saw CNN, I'll post an article that they just had last week, that CDC is saying anyone that's immunocompromised, if you've had your vaccine, probably not going to be effective, probably not going to do what it needs to do. So, and same thing for people with autoimmune. There's, Jerry, tell us your story, Jerry. How much vitamin D? Patricia, enough to get to 60 to 80 on your vitamin D, so you've got to test. Hey, Leanne, or Leonida, great to see you on Cape Cod. Was the best vitamin D to take? Is there a certain kind of brand? We'll post where we get most of our supplements from. You definitely want to get a doctor brand on there. So again, Sherry, get your vitamin D up to 60 to 80. So you've got to test. Everybody's going to be different on there. C, 1,000, zinc 50, good general recommendations for the general population. So great to have everybody on. I got to jump. Amy, great to see you. If you missed this one, go ahead and pop back, watch the replay. But if you've got any questions at all, pop those down below. Get this information out, share it with as many people as you can. They need to know that they don't have to lie there in fear and worry and, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But they have to take charge of their health today. Take care, everybody. Stay strong.